You know what they say, save the best for last. The safety class, though it might not be my favorite, it is absolutely stacked, and I got at least 8 of these guys in my top 50. So today should be a fun one as we finish off the positional rankings, and let's get into it. Ranking the top 10 safeties in the 2025 NFL Draft. Coming in at number 10 is Malik Verdon out of Iowa State, 6'4", 220, and I love his tape. I just don't know if he has the potential of some guys above him, but second team All Big 12 honors this past season. Great size, great length to him. I think he's very athletic. He has the ability with his speed to cover a lot of field, whether if you want to put him in the box or if you want to have him back on the back end where he can, again, cover a lot of ground through the passing game. But he's a very secure tackler, man. And when he is in the box, which I think he has the potential to be a box safety, he's a very secure tackler, right? So this is a guy that outside of his lengthy injury history, there's not a lot to worry about here outside of overall polishing. Malik Verdon is going to be a sneaky, high potential day 3 pick. As we move on to Billy Bowman Jr., there's a couple things that stick out here. Of course, he's 5'10", 200, so we know for sure he is a back-end two-man high safety. He's not going to be in the box much, but what I will say is that he's produced at very high levels. 2 years ago in 2023, he was first team All Big 12. Last year, first year in the SEC, he was 13 All SEC. So he's producing, right? And he's having great individual statistical seasons there, even though it was a down year for the Sooners. But I think he has good ball skills. I think he has great closing speed. This is the thing, though. He's not a great tackler with a 25% missed tackle rate last year. And he didn't have a great Senior Bowl weekend. So those are two big things that I'm looking at. How are these GMs going to weigh his tackling, his physical ability, and also how much are they going to weigh that Senior Bowl performance? Outside of that, though, I think he's a very solid coverage safety that's going to translate to the next level. This sounds crazy, but 8 of these guys are in my top 50. That is how much I love the overall group of these safeties in 2025. But Jonas Sanker, 6'1", 210. He's not out of Miami. That was a typo. But he's out of Virginia, of course, for the Cavaliers. Last year, 87 tackles, 5 pass breakups, and an interception. So you get a little bit of everything from a guy like Jonas Sanker. Only a 10% missed tackle rate. He definitely has the versatility to play in the box, which you like when you're facing run-heavy teams. The only things I worry about with a guy like Jonas is his top-end speed. Maybe he's not the Billy Bowmans of the world where he's got that, extra gear to him to play on the back end, but I think he can play back on the back end, right, to be a coverage safety. But I think he's best used as a versatile guy. You want to have him in the box, and you want to have him back on the back end. I think that's the good thing about Jonas Sanker, and that's why I have him in my top 50. I think he's a solid overall prospect, and any team's going to be happy to have him. Sebastian Castro, representing the, of course, certain coach's favorite first guy in, last guy out, gym rat mentality, knows the playbook well, kind of players. You guys get where I'm going with that, right? Sebastian Castro, 5'11", 205. He's trying to be the next great white, is what they're calling these guys nowadays. 50 tackles last year with a pass breakup, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. So he gives you a little bit of everything. But the one thing that I think will stand out to not only me, but also these NFL GMs is that he was a 4-year starter for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So the experience is there, and this is a guy that the speed is there, right? Despite what the common stereotypes would say. He's just a guy that is like the Russell Westbrook of this college football draft, where he just plays at 100 miles an hour all the time. It's all gas, no brakes, which has pros and cons, to, I guess, that aspect of it. But outside of that, he's very versatile. I think he has good ball skills. He can even play some corner at times. But at the end of the day, he's a safety. But I think he can play back on the back end and, of course, in the box. He's going to bring a lot of versatility to whatever team drafts him. Maybe as early as late day 2, but I think that's pushing it. Malachi Moore, representing the Crimson Tide. He is lower on my list, but I love him. And if you need a modern day safety to play 2-man high and just stay in zone coverage the entire game, this might be the best zone corner or zone safety in the class. Excuse me. He is a safety, to clarify. But 70 tackles last year, so he's not afraid to get in the box and get dirty and make some of these big time plays when he needs to. 3 forced fumbles with also, in the passing department, 7 pass breakups, 2 interceptions. So you get a little bit of everything from Mr. Malachi, which is why he was first team All SEC despite the down year there for the Crimson Tide. But he had only a 10% missed tackle rate while also being maybe the best zone safety in this class. He gives you the best of both worlds. The only thing I worry about with him, and that's why he's a little bit lower on my list, is because he has an extensive history of back injuries there at the collegiate level. So Malachi Moore, I want to see how these physicals come out here in just about a week's time at the Combine. But outside of that, I want to see his Combine performances and his pro day. And if all that turns out to go well for him, he's going to move up my list. Andrew Makuba, of course, representing the Texas Longhorns, third-team All-SEC member, and that's because he gives you a little bit of everything. 77 tackles last year, 6 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, but also a forced fumble. But again, 5 interceptions. So he is a ball hawk, kind of a safety, but he also is just a hard hitter. Like I mentioned with Sebastian Castro, this is a guy that is just all the time. He's playing at 110%. He's sprinting around the field. It seems like he's making a big play after big play for the Longhorns. And he's a hard hitter, man. It kind of reminds me of like a Jabril Peppers kind of a player. But at the same time, I think he might even bring a little bit better coverage skills. Regardless, Andrew Makuba is just playing at 100 miles an hour all the time, which has, again, its pros and cons. That's why he's in my top 50. The only things we worry about, he's a little bit thin there at 190. I want to see how if he decides to add size going into the Combine here in about a week. Again, you want to work on his decision making. When to use this mentality of going 110 miles an hour. But those are things that can be fixed at the next level. And now when we talk about the top 4 safeties, I honestly will say this. These guys, you can flip a coin. I think all these guys bring everything that you're looking for potential and for overall a solid overall safety at the next level. So they can all be interchangeable. And I honestly don't care where you want to rank them because to me, they're all in that top 25 range. Starting with Xavier Watts, and this might be my guy. That's how much I love Xavier Watts. 6 foot 205, great size, right? You see his production there, 90 tackles, but 6 interceptions, so gives you a little bit of everything. 2 years ago, he was a first-team All-American player for the Fighting Irish, so you love to see that as well. But over the last 2 years as well as being an All-American 2 years ago, he's had 13 interceptions the last 2 years, which is almost leading the nation. I just think he has elite straight line speed. So when he locks onto you, good luck, right? You better be able to get shifty and make a move to get past Xavier Watts because the X-Man's coming and he's going to pretty much lay a big hit on you. Only a 12% missed tackle rate with his aggressiveness, which I think is very good, again, for how he plays. But you just want to work on that. Again, maybe fine-tune this aggressiveness. Don't go always 100 miles an hour. Let's just know when to use it and how to use it. But again, those are things that can be fixed at the next level. He might be my guy. Now, if this guy didn't get hurt, he might be the number 1 safety in the class. Kevin Winston Jr., 6'2", 210. You love his size going into the next level. But this past year, you do want to say he didn't have a lot of games because he had a season-ending ACL injury. So that's one thing immediately that you want to look at. How healthy is he going to be? And how can he bounce back from an injury like that? We know modern day medicine is great. It's better than it's ever been. He should be fine and ready to go for the Combine to put on a great show for all of us at home, as well as these NFL GMs. But last year when he did play, 12 tackles and a forced fumble. So you like to see that. He can get down and dirty. But this also might be the best tackling safety in history of college football. He only had 1 missed tackle in his entire 4-year career, therefore in the Nittany Lions. Outside of that, I think he's a very smart player. You could play him in press man. You could play him, on the back end and of course, zone coverage. I just think he's very smart when he's on the field. The only things you worry about with Kevin Winston is that ACL injury and how quickly he can get back to 100%. But outside of that, he's a very complete safety prospect. Again, if he didn't get hurt, might be safety 1 in this class. Nick Emanwori. I really, again, I got to really lock in and focus on these last names come this Combine just to see how they're exactly pronounced. But hey, I love the talent so much, he's my top 2. So I don't care if your name is Jim Bob. If you can play, you can play on my list. 6'3", 230. If you are looking for simply the intangibles and the potential, this is going to be your safety. Again, you see the size there, and he is an athletic freak. This is a guy that looks like a linebacker that's playing safety. So, of course, he can play in the box, but he can also play on the back end because I do think he brings good coverage ability. And that's why, again, he was first team All SEC this past season. He's developed every single year in his coverage ability. Again, he started his career at linebacker, but every single year he's gotten better at coverage. So they kind of naturally moved him back to safety because they can trust him to do both. So I think you're getting a lot of versatility at the next level, whoever decides to draft this South Carolina Gamecock. Last year, though, 90 tackles, 4 pass breakups, and 4 interceptions. So you're getting a lot. Again, the best of both worlds. Outside of overall polishing his game and just knowing when to do what, and again, just to continue to develop the IQ of the game, which all these safeties will do going into the next level, he is going to be a specimen going into the next level. I just hope he's used right and has the opportunity to show this versatility at the next level. And at number 1, as of right now, is Malachi Stark, 6'1", 200, and he has dominated at the collegiate level. 2 years ago, first team All-SEC. Last year, second team All-SEC. And if I had to point to one thing, you see it's in green, he is a ball hawk. This guy might have the best ball skills in this safety class because he's such an explosive athlete. The things you worry about, though, are the same things I've said for a couple of these safeties. Sometimes he's all gas, no brakes, and that comes with pros and that comes with cons, right? Sometimes he's too aggressive. Sometimes he takes unnecessary risks when going for the ball. And this is a guy that just, that can cost the team some big plays. Again, when you're trying to be overly aggressive, kind of play hero ball, so to speak, that can cost your team some big plays on the back end. So outside of just toning down his aggressiveness, knowing when to use it, how to use it, he's a very complete safety. And I don't worry about this past year where it was a kind of a down year statistically because he still put up 80 tackles and an interception on a team that is playing the best of the best talent every single week. I'm not worried about Malachi Stark's production. He's going to be fine and might be a first-round pick at the next level. But here's a quick recap. Of course, a lot of these guys are in my top 50 because all of them are very solid all-around prospects that bring versatility. So we love all of that. Only one of these guys has a 90, and that is Malachi Starks. Because I think he has a very high floor and high ceiling as well. These other guys got some questions around them, but again, I love a lot of these safeties, and that's pretty much going to do it. So, hey, if you enjoyed, you made it to this point, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and on Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, I'm going to drop my first ever mock draft, and we're not going for a simple first-round mock draft. No, we're going for a 2-round mock draft here to open up the debut on the channel, a 2-rounder. So if you enjoy, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.